Hey everybody, this is the Mage of Ancients back at it again with my October 2017 update for my Ancient Gear deck profile. These past couple of months have been crazy with the release of Code of the Duelist, as well as the new September 2017 Banlist. If you watched my previous Ancient Gear deck profile updates, you'll know that I did run True King Lithos the Disaster in my deck. Of course, with the new Banlist, I can't run True King Lithos anymore. It's forbidden. It wasn't until a few minutes ago that I realized how it would synergize with Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound, but I'll get to that in just a minute. This Ancient Gear deck build is actually more focused towards you taking advantage of not only fusions, but also the new Mrs. Radiant Link monster. And as always, if you guys have any suggestions on what I should do to improve this deck profile, then be sure to let me know down in the comments below and hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at Mage of Ancients. With that being said, let's get on with this deck profile, shall we? So to start off, like before, I run double copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. If you guys don't know it by now, this card gains abilities depending on whether you tribute an Ancient Gear or a gadget monster. Of course, what you can do is just tribute an Ancient Gear gadget when you have Gear Town on the field and you already have both abilities. If you want to play Ancient Gears, then Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon is not a bad card to have at all. Next up, I decided to just bump down my Ancient Gear Golem count to just one copy in my main deck. Of course, the classic Ancient Gear monster used by Crowler and GX. It does piercing battle damage, and it also prevents your opponents from activating any spells or traps during the battle in which it attacks. I replaced my Ancient Gear Golem with the next best thing, Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. I still think this is a good card to have even with True King Lithos gone. And there's more to explain about Ultimate Pound in my combo video, like being able to discard machine type monsters so this card can attack another time during the battle phase. But what you do want to keep in mind is Ultimate Pound's second ability, which reads, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add one polymerization from your deck to your hand, and if you do, add one other Ancient Gear monster from your graveyard to your hand. What would have been cool is if Ultimate Pound was also treated as just Ancient Gear Golem so that you could go into your Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Then after that, you want to run triple copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern. This is your main searcher. When it's normal or special summon, then you can search out for any Ancient Gear card from your deck. It doesn't have to just be a monster, it can also be a spell or a trap. Next up, I run triple copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. This monster has a built-in polymerization. This is especially the case if you want to get out any of your Ancient Gear fusion monsters out onto the field as quickly as possible. After that, I run double copies of Ancient Gear Box. The box is here not only as fusion material, but also since you can use its ability to search out your Ancient Gear gadget. And I bumped this up to 3 because I've been reading the comments from my last Ancient Gear deck profile update saying that it's best to run 3 copies because when you have one copy of Ancient Gear gadget on the field and you have machine duplication, you can activate it so you can search out for your other gadgets from the deck and then special summon them out onto the field. So from there, you can activate each of the Ancient Gear gadget's effects to prevent your opponent from activating any monster effects, spells, or traps during the battle phase. And I don't think I would have ever figured that out if it wasn't for you guys, those people who gave me those comments on that last profile update. So those are my Ancient Gear monsters for my main deck. I also run double gold gadget and double silver gadget. These combo off of each other. Both Gold Gadget and Silver Gadget let you special summon another level 4 machine monster from your hand, so that way you can have access to rank 4 Xyz plays, as well as Gear Gig and X, which lets you search out other level 4 machines from your deck. And to round off my monster lineup, I run one copy of Max C. Still a really cool hand trap to have in the game. Because you gotta draw cards, you have to have as many cards as possible. Or better yet, you want to be able to see your cards as quickly as possible. So those are my main deck monsters. Now let's go over to my spells. Triple Gear Town, it's standard. So not only is this essential when you want to tribute your Ancient Gear gadget to gain both abilities for your Reactor Dragon, but when you destroy it, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And you do want to use that special summon for Wyvern so you can search out for your other Ancient Gear monsters. Next, of course, I run triple copies of Terraforming. You could bump this down to 2 if you want, but you want to be able to see your Gear Town as quickly as possible. After that, double copies of Ancient Gear Fortress. This is basically added protection for your Ancient Gear monsters. And just like Gear Town, when it's destroyed, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your hand or your graveyard. And of course, you want to run triple copies of this card, Ancient Gear Catapult. You'll need triple Ancient Gear Catapult so you can start your combos for whenever you destroy Gear Town or your Fortress. So while you special summon one Ancient Gear monster from Gear Town or Fortress, Catapult lets you special summon any Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So you can special summon your Golem or your Ultimate Pound without fail. After that, I run double copies of Twin Twisters. It's a secondary way of destroying your Gear Town or your Fortress. Next up are the fusion spells. I run one copy of Polymerization, then one copy of Power Bond so you can turn your fusion monsters into huge beat sticks, and then Overload Fusion so you can fusion summon from your graveyard. And then after that, I run one copy of Machine Duplication. You can bump this up to 2 if you want, but I do think that Machine Duplication at 1 will be a nice tech in. I think that's how you call it, right? Tech in. And of course, after that, I run one copy of Limiter Removal. Now this is the card that you need for potential OTKs. Next to Power Bond, of course. So those are my spells. Now, I run a very small trap lineup. I run double Quaking Mirror Force. This sets the stage perfectly for the Ancient Gear monsters that do piercing damage. Then after that, to combo off of cards like Ancient Gear Catapult, or maybe my opponent would use a card like Raigeki, for example, I run double copies of Induced Explosion. So that way, my opponent using a card like Raigeki would have a slight backfire. So that's my main deck. Now I'm going to go over to my side deck. I run my second copy of Ancient Gear Golem here. I also run one copy of Gadgetron Dragon in my side deck. The Dragon is here mainly because there's another monster that you can special summon off of the cards that I mentioned before. And after that, I run double copies of Gamessia, almost anybody's go-to kaiju. It's also good if you want to get over problematic monsters like the True Dracos. Then I run double copies of Ancient Gear Workshop. This is good especially if you want to get your box back from your graveyard so you can activate its ability. Then after that, I run one copy of Fusion Substitute, and after that, the one copy of Book of Moon. After that, I decided to switch my Ancient Gear Reborn over to my side deck instead of my main deck. You probably won't need it as much since you already have other cards that will special summon cards from your graveyard. Then after that, I run double Rocket Hand. It's another destruction tool for you to start off your Ancient Gear combos. Then I run double copies of Mirror Force. Of course, if you're playing against Pendulum Magicians, then you can switch this out for Drowning Mirror Force or Storming Mirror Force. So that way you can prevent them from activating their abilities. Then after that, I run one Floodgate Trap Hole, and finally one copy. And finally, I would like to show you guys my side deck. Of course, what you want to do is run double copies of Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. This is the boss monster of the Ancient Gear archetype. Best thing that you want to do is end the game with this card. So that way you can just run over every single monster that your opponent has out on the field if your opponent has no response, of course. Then I run double copies of Ancient Gear Howitzer. You can bump this up to 3 if you want, but I think 2 would be just fine. This card is really cool mainly because your opponent doesn't really have any response to getting rid of your Ancient Gear Howitzer unless he has a kaiju or something. Then after that, I run one copy of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. By the way, I forgot to mention this before. Not only can you use Power Bond to fusion summon for Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, but you can also do it with the same thing with Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Both Chaos Ancient Gear Giant and Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem gets double the attack with Power Bond, no matter which fusion monster you go for. And again, thank you guys for those comments and clarifying that for me. So those are the fusion monsters. Now let's go over to my Xyz monsters. I run double Gear Gigant X so you can search for those level 4 machines. Heavy Armored Train Iron Wolf so you can go for direct attacks. Also, like the card reads, when this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, then you can search your deck for a level 4 machine. Another rank 4 that you'll want to have in your Ancient Gear deck is number 59, Crooked Cook. Especially when you have Gear Town and Ancient Gear Fortress out on the field, then you can still execute your Ancient Gear combos from there. After that, I run a couple of generic rank 4s. I run one Castell and one's Abyss Dweller. And in case you want to go into rank 8s, then you'll want to have Hieratic Sun Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis. Kind of works in the same way as Crooked Cook, but on a much broader range. And finally, for the Link monsters, I run one Decode Talker. It's very rare that you'll get 3 monsters out on the field at once. But what's really cool about Decode Talker is that when you send those Ancient Gear monsters to the graveyard and then link summon your Decode Talker, then you can use your Overload Fusion to fusion summon for your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. And then finally, I run double copies of Mrs. Radiant to help support all the Ancient Gear monsters that I have on the field. So that's my Ancient Gear deck profile update. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any suggestions for other deck profiles you want to see, then be sure to leave those suggestions down in the comments below. Also, if you want to show your support for this channel, then be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh videos like this. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you next time.